we need to consider all the possible arrangements of the letters of the word rainbow. An important thing to observe is that our word contains 7 distinct letters. In other words, there's no letter which appears twice. So, how many ways can we arrange these letters? Well, we have to use all 7 letters, so we can think of this like the following. We've 7 empty boxes, and we'll need to fill one of our letters into each of these. For example, we could fill in the letters in the order N, I, B, W, A, R, O. This would be one possible arrangement of the letters. And it's worth pointing out that there's no requirement that we come out with a sensible English word, we just want any arrangement of the letters. So how many total arrangements are there? Well, we've 7 boxes to fill, so we can break this down into 7 small decisions. What should I write in each box? For the first box, we could choose any of our 7 letters. So we've 7 choices. As an example, let's say I pick A. When it comes to the second box, things are more restricted. Each letter can only be used once, and I've already used my A. This means that we've 6 choices left for the second box. R, I, N, B, O, and W. As an example, let's say I fill this in with I. Now, when it comes to the third box, both A and I have been ruled out. So there's 5 choices left. R, N, B, O, and W. As an example, let's say I fill this with an O. When we get to our fourth box, A, I, and O have all been ruled out. So there's only 4 choices left. As an example, let's fill this with a B. So hopefully you can start to see the pattern here. When we move to the 5th box, we can't use any of the 4 letters that we used already. This leaves us with 3 choices remaining. Let's say we fill it with a W. When we move to the 6th box, we've used 5 of our letters, and the only ones remaining are R and N, so we've 2 choices for this box. Let's say we choose R. When we come to the final box, we've already used 6 of our letters. The only one remaining is N. So there's not much choice here, we only have one option. It must be N. So, how do we find the total number of arrangements? All we have to do is multiply together all the numbers we had for our choices. This gives us 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Typing this in our calculator gives us our final answer of 5,040. This question is quite similar to the previous one. The only difference is that we want 3-letter arrangements rather than 7-letter arrangements which used all the letters. Since we want 3-letter arrangements, we can think of this as having 3 boxes and needing to fill in each box with a letter from our word rainbow. As an example, we could fill in O, W, B. As another example, we could fill in A, O, N. We need to find the total number of ways we could fill in the boxes. The logic here is pretty much identical to the previous question. We've 3 boxes to fill, so we should break things down into the number of choices we have for each box. In the first box, we have all 7 letters of our word open to us, so we've 7 choices. Let's say I fill it with N. We can't use the same letter twice, so when it gets to the second box, I can't use N again. However, the other 6 letters in rainbow are still available, so I've 6 choices for the second box. Let's say I pick I. Now, when it comes to the third box, I can't use N and I can't use I. The other 5 letters in rainbow are still available, so I have 5 choices for this box. Let's say I choose B. So, how many total arrangements are there? Well, all we have to do is multiply together the choices we had for each box. This gives us 7 times 6 times 5, which is 210. In our table, the row with yellow is completely filled in. In particular, we're told that an angle of 45 degrees corresponds to a probability of 1 over 8. We can write this in equation form as 45 degrees is equal to 1 over 8. If we can find what 1 degree corresponds to, this will allow us to easily find all the other probabilities in our table. Well, to get from 45 degrees to 1 degree, we need to divide by 45. To find what fraction 1 degree corresponds to, we should divide 1 over 8 by 45. This gives us 1 over 360. So now we know that a 1 degree angle corresponds to a probability of 1 over 360. It's also possible to get to this result by using the fact that there's 360 degrees in a full circle. So, how can we use this to find our probabilities? Well, let's start with red. Here we have an angle of 72 degrees. If 1 degree corresponds to 1 over 360, then 72 degrees will be 1 over 360 times 72. If we type this in our calculator, it simplifies to 1 over 5. So this is our probability for red. Orange has a 30 degree angle. Again, if 1 degree is 1 over 360, then 30 degrees will be 1 over 360 times 30. Typing this in our calculator gives an answer of 1 over 12. So this is our probability of landing on orange. We can follow a similar procedure to fill in the rest of the blanks. Green has a 90 degree angle, so the probability will be 1 over 360 times 90. This comes out as 1 over 4. Blue has a 60 degree angle, so the probability will be 1 over 360 times 60. This comes out as 1 over 6. Indigo has an 18 degree angle, so the probability is 1 over 360 times 18. This comes out as 1 over 20. Violet has a 45 degree angle. This is the exact same angle as yellow, so it'll have the exact same probability, 1 over 8. Alternatively, we could have just multiplied 1 over 360 times 45, and it also would have come out as 1 over 8. A general strategy for calculating an expected value is the following. Multiply each probability with the corresponding value, then add up all the results. We already know the probabilities for each of our colours. We also know the prize values for each of our colours. The first step is to multiply together the probability times the prize value for each colour. It'll be useful to extend our table with an extra column to write in these values. Red has a probability of 1 over 5 and a prize of 20. Multiplying these together gives us an answer of 4. Orange has a probability of 1 over 12 and a prize of 60. Multiplying these gives us 5. For yellow, we get 1 over 8 times 24, which is 3. For green, we get 1 over 4 times 8, which is 2. Blue gives us 1 over 6 times 42, which is 7. Indigo gives us 1 over 20 times 90, which is 4.5. and violet gives us 1 over 8 times 48, which is 6. To find our expected value, all we have to do is add up all these numbers. 4 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 4.5 plus 6. When we do this calculation, we get an answer of 31.5. Since the prizes were listed in euros, the unit here is euro.